Hello and welcome back once again to CBR MTG. My name is Angus Mackay. I'm joined here with Jake Sims.
Hey guys.
And we are playing some spicy legacy decks today with Damien Berry on Goblins versus Jarrod on Dredge. Unfortunately, the title cards are mixed up for this exact instance, but we'll fix that up eventually. Damien on the front screen, it's a little bit mixed up, but that's okay. Goblins, very cute deck. It's trying its very hardest to survive through Deathrite Shaman, and it looks like Damien is going to keep that tradition going by playing more goblins. The Goblin Lackey is for anyone who doesn't know, Goblins is a Goblin tribal deck. It plays most ones play Ether Vial. I don't think Jarrod is playing them in his list, but it's usually mono red, and it's usually put lots of goblins onto the battlefield and win. And you get a lot of these weird interactions with goblins and their ETBs. And as we saw before, Damien has a Kiki Jiki in hand, which will not be part of a combo today. It will just be for value. We're leading off on a Goblin Lackey. Goblin Lackey is a 1-mana 1/1 that says when you deal damage to a player, when Goblin Lackey deals damage to a player, you may put a Goblin permanent from your hand onto the battlefield. Very good if you want to ramp out those spells. These banner red effects are huge in decks like this because we're playing Siege Gang Commander, and we're playing maybe like a Krenko as well, and like the Kiki Jiki costs 5 mana to cast, but if he connects with that Goblin Lackey, he'll be able to put it in for free. Jarrod's leading up with a classic Dredge line of Cabal Therapy. Don't know what you'd name. It looks like Jarrod's just names a goblin, and I don't think we're connecting with that. But I mean, Jarrod's going to write down all these cards in his hand and just try and go hog wild from here.
This is the most interaction you're going to get out of these two decks. These two decks are two ships passing in the night.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're just trying to outrun their opponent, outpace them, and just do their thing before the other bloke can.
Yeah, and I mean, Jarrod's deck plays Cabal Therapy, right? But it's almost exclusively to turn on the rest of the deck.
Yeah.
Because you sacrifice Narcomoebas to turn on Bridges from below, and then you can sack those for Dread Return. It's all part of the combo, but it kind of relies on those Cabal Therapy flashbacks, so pretty good information for him. Damien has connected with the Goblin Lackey, has decided to put down a Goblin Ringleader, unfortunately whiffing on that one. Goblin Ringleader is another Goblin, pretty expensive, I think, 3 mana, 4 mana, and it has haste, and when it enters the battlefield, you reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put all Goblin cards revealed this way onto the into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library. Pretty good way to refill your hand, pretty good way to protect yourself from any future Cabal therapies, just by maybe sneaking out, you'll reveal a different goblin, then Jarrod will name it, and you'll protect the rest of your goblins. But unfortunately, he did not whiff on the Goblin Collected Company. He did whiff on the Goblin Collected Company, but he did put some useless lands on the bottom of the library, so he'd be pretty happy about that.
Jarrod just dredging Golgari Grave Troll, find a Narcomoeba off that, and he's going to flash back Cabal Therapy. He has a bit more information to what he wants to name, whether it be Kiki Jiki, just try and stop any of the ETB shenanigans that Damien is going to try and do. But yeah, he's bound to get a hit here. Yeah. And this time
he's decided to go for the Siege Gang Commander, the 5 mana, if I'm not mistaken, Goblin Lord that gives all your goblins a pump, and it says make more goblins.
You make 3 goblins when it enters the battlefield, and it's 1 and a red to sacrifice a goblin to the commander, and it will shock anything.
Yeah. Cute also playing Tarfire. This is not unusual for goblin decks, but I do love it a lot. These Tarfires, it's a shock, but it's a goblin tribal card, so you can actually hit it off Goblin Matron. Which says
also the Ringleader.
Yeah, the Ringleader as well will get it. It just says get goblins. This is I just love Kiki Jiki in this deck so much. This is like such a nice play from Damien. He can like just abuse these ETB effects. He can recast Goblin Ringleader. He can get Siege Gang Commander to get more goblins. Like, this seems like a very natural fit, and notably a goblin. makes it a little better as well. Yeah, sneaking it in again with the Goblin Lackey. We do apologize for the flickering on the screen that you see. Our poor computer was trying its very hardest over these days at GP Sydney, filming 9 hours a day, nearly non-stop for all Legacy Modern Highlander action. You can see our videos in the playlist. Yeah, the computer was trying its very hardest. It was a little computer that could. Jake, for anyone who doesn't know, should we go through what Dredge does?
Yeah, well, Dredge is a very hyper-aggressive, non-interactive deck. Very concerned about what it's doing. Basically, the aim of the game is to get a Dredge card in the graveyard as soon as possible with Careful Study or Faithless Looting, and then start using the Dredge mechanic to reveal Narcomoebas, Bridge from Below's, eventually finding Dread Returns and something like Gristlebrand or Kin Flame Zealot, which gives...
Flame Kin Zealot.
That's the one, thank you very much. It gives all your creatures +1/+1 and haste. Very powerful combination with all these zombies that you're going to generate through your sacrificing Narcomoebas to Cabal therapies, and from all your Bridge from Below triggers, and your Dread Return triggers, as well as your Incarid triggers. So, yeah.
It's very aggressive, and yeah, it has a very quick combo win con, but can just beat face with zombies as well. Poor Jarrod is kind of priced into not blocking with this zombie as well, because this is not necessarily a good start for Dredge. I mean, Jarrod's got a bunch of Dredge cards in hand that he's still struggling to put back in the graveyard. But also he's only hit 1 bridge so far, so every Cabal therapy that he flashes back with the Narcomoebas is only generating him 1 zombie, but there is an interaction with Bridges from Below that says if a creature an opponent controls dies, exile all Bridges from Below. So he's not going to block, like, I mean, he might, but like, it's pretty bad news for him so far. Like, if this Lackey connects, that's just more damage, and yeah, Jarrod's just elected to scoop it up. He's not going to be blocking anything. Like, all the Goblins were 2/2s at the time because of the Siege Gang Commander. He can flicker Siege Gang Commander, as we mentioned before, with Kiki Jiki. God, this is exactly the type of magic I like to see. It's the good ones. Jarrod is being very careful not to show his opponent the Elish Norn that he's bringing in. That will turn off Damien's deck completely. That's a good Dread Return target, but he's got to work a little bit to get it. It's not just cut and dry. You can see like great hands coming out of Dredge with like Lion's Eye Diamond really powers it out, and Breakthrough and stuff where you're just like discarding your hand and then dredging. Yeah.
Dredge can go off turn 1 if you have the bee's knees.
Yeah.
Just Faithless Looting, hold priority, crack your LED, and then discard your hand. And then if you've got dredges from cracking the LED, you basically have got 4 dredge triggers from the Faithless Looting plus the Faithless Looting that's got...
that you'll be flashing back. Yeah, exactly, with the mana that you meant from Lion's Eye Diamond. Very, very synergistic in that aspect.
And then from that point on, it's very hard to not go off.
Yeah, absolutely, because, every time that you dredge, you're, like, putting more creatures in the graveyard, you're, like, powering up your Cabal therapies with Narcomoebas, and, yeah, you do absolutely have the capability to go off turn 1. The modern version of the deck is a little bit slower, a little bit more based on sort of aggro, as well as there's a manaless Dredge variant that's worlds cheaper than this one, because you don't have to play Lion's Eye Diamond, but that manaless Dredge is kind of just aggressive.
Yeah.
You're putting Icarids on the battlefield. You're just trying to beat face as much as you can while you have a chance. The good news is that you always go on the draw. So no matter what happens, you always get your desired outcome, because no one else is going to be on the draw unless you're versing another manaless Dredge, and in that case, you're in big trouble. We'll see what's coming out of the sideboards. I do know ahead of time that Jarrod brings in Grafdigger's Cage, which is kind of like one of the few answers. I mean, red-black, you do have a few options for Graveyard Hate, but I think Grafdigger's Cage is probably just the better one overall. Although it dies to a bunch of things, and then Jarrod can just continue his game plan as normal. It doesn't exile any cards. Like, it just stops Green Sun Zenith as well. You know, natural order if you're playing against elves.
Yeah,
and it's like a good card to have against those two matchups.
Yet to see Collected Company and Legacy. That'll be a sweet day.
I'm ready for it. The day that like good value creature decks are on top, that's a good time. But you know, we have Modern for that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We were mentioning off camera the a possibility of playing Collected Company in Goblins, because you like, although it's intended for elves, you know, even on the art there's elves, but you know, you can collect a company for Goblins as much as you want. You just got to have a little bit of green mana.
Especially with the new set coming out, Dominaria, they've got a lot of new toys.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's that 3 mana red Goblin Chain Whirler.
Yep.
When it enters the battlefield, it pings an opponent and everything they control.
Yeah.
Very powerful. Especially in these Eternal formats like Legacy and Modern. A lot of X1s running around, so I would not count that out as being not seeing that around.
Yeah. The good news about the Legacy version of Elves is that you have access to Ringleader and Goblin Matron. Goblin Matron just tutoring up a Goblin spell. And Ringleader, as we saw before, doing a good Collected Company impression. But you don't have access to that in Modern. But, you know, you're able to sort of imply a toolbox strategy for Goblins, because you have all these, like, weird Goblins, you know, like Sting Scourger, if I'm not mistaken, makes an opponent sacrifice a creature on ETB, which is just like a very bizarre thing that you're able to do. Return target creature and an opponent controls back to their hand. This is like all these like weird interactions. We saw before that Damien sided in Earwig Squad, which is probably a good card to bring in this matchup, because it says when it enters the battlefield, if Prowl Cost was paid, search target opponent's library for 3 cards and exile them. That player shuffles his or her library, and the Prowl Cost is 2 and black. A good enough reason to splash back for sure. Yeah, Goblin Rogues, not really known too much, but, you know, they exist. Seeing a hand of 7 come out of Damien, like, it just has a Grafdigger's Cage. I think you just keep it.
Yeah.
You know, like, the speed that Jarrod can go off is just so incredibly fast. And you see that he's got Elish Norn already, like...
You've got to mull to that hate.
Yeah.
Really?
Ooh, this is aggressive. I like it. Ooh, Chromox as well. Okay. I was about to say, leading on the Grafdigger's Cage is probably where you want to be, but it appears that Damien has all of it. Chromox, good card in this matchup, being able to play out the Wasteland and the Grafdigger's Cage. You see a lot of...
Jarrod considering dredging, and then he remembers, there's the Grafdigger's Cage around.
Yeah. The also, like, probably the best sort of way that you can beat Dredge as a deck is just get in super early. You know, that Wasteland could have been everything that Damien needed to win that game, you know, because he... you know, there's not a whole lot of ways that Jarrod can float mana, and he doesn't need it after turn 2. He doesn't need mana at all, because he's just going to be dredging for the rest of the game. But,
Dredge typically runs like 12 odd lands and your LEDs, mainly Mana Confluence, the blue Threshold land, and
Cephalid Colosseum.
That's the one, and Gemstone Mine.
Yep.
So, they do not need
a lot
lands to function. So, trying to waste lock him, Jarrod, is more than reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. This Lackey is going to do a lot of work. This is like a really good matchup for Lackey. The reason that Goblins like kind of fell out of favor was Deathratch Shaman. You know, Deathratch Shaman was printed, and then suddenly like a turn 1 Goblin Lackey just wasn't good enough anymore. You know, because your opponent plays a 1/2 with value, and you're like, oh, okay, well, whoops. Seeing a Warren Instigator coming out of Damien's side, Jarrod having a look as he is completely reasonable to do. Ooh, here's the Earwig Squad. we're gonna start looking at some cards in Jarrod's library. Ooh, this and Kiki Jiki. Oh my god, a man after my own heart. Oh, sorry, that doesn't work if the prow cost. It was only it only works if the prow cost was paid. But you know, you can still make a lot. Yeah, prow cost says you may cast this card for its prow cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with a goblin or a rogue. All the black goblins are rogues as well as goblins, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, not a whole lot, but you know, there is some. Earwig Squad is going to do a lot of work in this matchup. Like, Earwig Squad is a 5/3 for 5, but that prow cost is super easy for Damien to do, and like, look at all this value. Like, he's
I like Damien just going after the bridges from below here, because the bridges are the main engine to the Dredge deck.
Yep.
They're the ones that fuel and kind of chain off the Narcomoeba dying and the Ink Trigger dying.
Yep.
So yeah, bridge is super crucial to the Dredge combo. So I like going after them, leaving Jarrod with only 1, which is already conveniently in his graveyard.
Yeah.
But don't worry about that.
I could also consider taking out sideboard cards. Like,
yeah,
he can't win with this Grafdigger's Cage on the battlefield.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be, well, I mean...
So if Jarrod has brought in
beats,
something like Nature's Claim or something like that to deal with looming out of...
just anything, yeah. It's better to be safe than sorry sometimes.
Yep.
It doesn't look like Jarrod's brought in any sideboard cards, so we might just be getting rid of these bridges from below. As you said before, like, it's just the engine of the deck. You just take out the engine, it's just a shell of a car. Using the Flintstone wheels. Yeah, I think this is going to be very hard for Jarrod to win from here. It's just really nice that the sideboard cards lined up, and it was also like, he's also applying a lot of pressure. Like, if it was just Grafdigger's Cage, maybe Jarrod could have pulled through. Like, he might have something in his hand to get rid of the Grafdigger's Cage, but like, Damien's also connecting with these Warren Instigators and the lackeys. Like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard for Jarrod to win from here. But not impossible. Stranger things have happened. Alright. See what Jarrod pulls off the top. We'll see. It was interesting what he might have in hand. He definitely has an Eleginorn, which is not going to do the thing. But, like, he might have a breakthrough as well. Like, it's pretty bad. The things are bad here. We'll see. The good news is that Damien possibly is running out of gas, because he's only got 1 card in hand, if I'm not mistaken. He has 2 Instigators, which is great. 2 Banneret effects, which is great. But not hugely relevant in the face of when you have no cards in hand.
This will change everything. This is the old Goblin Ringleader.
Yeah.
When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 4 cards. We've already been over this. And you put all the Goblin cards that you find into your hand.
And we're swinging for $1 million. And the Instigator trigger. And the Lackey trigger.
Yep.
We're going to put some more creatures on the battlefield.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, this is Goblin Matron, which is the sort of helping with the toolbox strategy. I think I totally agree with Damien getting the Kiki Jiki. Goblin Matron just says search your library for a Goblin card on ETB. It's pretty expensive, but hey, it's free with Warren Instigator. He's going to be able to get his choice of cards. I think he's letting these triggers happen one at a time.
So if he finds Kiki Jiki, he puts that onto the battlefield with the Warren Instigator as well.
For free, and then he can tap it, and maybe he can Ringleader again. We just said he was out of gas. This is not out of gas.
No, far from.
Yeah, he definitely found his gas in the end. So he's probably, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to let his other trigger resolve. Putting Kiki Jiki on the battlefield. He's going to copy Ringleader. Sounds great.
I'm loving what's going on.
Exact 1,000,000% value.
Yep.
Coming in untapped. Searching. We're going to do some more collective company. All right. Oh, we got a Gem Palm Incinerator and
only
a couple
one.
of lands.
All right.
Gem Palm Incinerator.
It's fair. Don't worry about it.
I mean, Gem Palm Incinerator is a cycling card that deals damage to creatures when it cycles, equal to the number of goblins you control. Probably consideration to side out, but I guess if you get lucky, you can you can put some stuff on, like you can kill some Narcomoebas or you can kill some zombie tokens, but God, it's just like drawing another Lion's Eye Diamond could be the nail in the coffin. I mean, Jarrod's at 9. We're looking at not that much damage on the battlefield, but it is some. We have 2, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we 100% have lethal on board.
Yeah,
it looks like he's just showing.
Jarrod's got to make the move. His hand is forced here.
Well, he's not doing much. He can he can't even cast some spells with flashback out of his deck. Yeah, he's just scooping it up. That's it.
Yep.
And we see the handshake from the boys. Fantastic showing of Goblins. You got to love it when you bring the shiny rogue deck on camera, and it does very well. Unfortunately, Jarrod couldn't piece it together quick enough. And that turn 1 Wasteland / Grafdigger's Cage was huge. Absolutely huge. But yeah, no. Jarrod didn't have too much to take out and bring in. But bringing in the Elish Norm was definitely a good choice. You can see the big pile of zombie tokens as well. Jarrod being a very seasoned Dredge player. Great. Well, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us once again on CBR MTG. My name is Angus Mackay. I'm joined here with Jake Sims.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.